2025 was the most pivotal moment in my career and my just life in general, guys. And I'm going to go over what made me go from even making $500,000 a year and what that looks like for a longevity standpoint for yourself, for business owners, being a man in this type of society that we're in, and just kind of where everything's at as far as where I'm at when it comes to where my business is at. I just took a very calm, reflecting, meditated lot when I was in Puerto Rico. I was down in Puerto Rico for a week, and this is some of the best stuff that I was able to find from 2025. All the lessons that I've learned, all the people that I've met. I mean, all the high influencers that I've talked to when it comes to business. What some are some key nuggets, and honestly, some key nuggets if you're being a man in today's society, running your own business, what you should be doing. I've run two successful companies myself. Ran a major lawn care company when I was in high school, going into college, and then I was ended up selling it. And I've been doing insurance after being a college dropout. Now I make over $500,000 a year. And we're going to teach you guys some just life lessons to learn in 2025. Now, 2026, you got to really have this mentality of I am not satisfied. I'm not going to be okay with anything but the best. You need to be your fucking best at everything that you do. There's no shortcuts to life. There really isn't. You got to be able to say, okay, if there's somebody, let's just say there's another Michael right behind me, right? And he is doing everything that I'm doing out there. He's working the same hours, he's doing everything. But let's just say he makes one more phone call, or he takes one more appointment, or he wakes up 20 minutes before I do every single day. Who do you think is going to be more successful at the end of the year, right? That is what I was looking at myself going into 2025 is, hey, I need to be my fucking best. Be your best at fucking everything. Okay. You need to be able to go hard when it comes to your career and where your trajectories are at. And what I mean by that is it's not overworking. I always take a Sabbath. That is something that I hold testimony to myself as far as my religious path. But you need to be able to hold yourself to a high standard those other 6 days. It's not one of those things where you can be like, okay, I worked 5 hours a day and I closed 3 deals. Okay, let me be done for the day. No, like you got to put your actions in. You got to have staple goals of what you're trying to do with your career. All right. Now, when it comes to this year as well, there is going to be a couple things that I would say that really correlate to a lot of what 2025 brought me. And it's that a lot of times your like friends in life, right, are very what are called situational shit, situationships. If you don't know what a situationship is, it's a relationship that's based on a situation. You can look at the people that you go to high school with. You can go to see the people that you go to class with, college with, you work with, people that you go to your school or go to your church, right? I mean, a lot of these things are very what are called situational ships. Let's just say I live here in Tampa, Florida. I go move up to Nebraska. Okay. Do you think anybody that really lives here in Tampa outside of business, partners that I have are really going to be talking to me anymore after that move? Probably not. I saw that even coming down. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I moved my whole life down to Miami, lived there for a couple years. But all my friends, pretty much for the most part, unless my true ones that have been like my ride or dies, those are the only guys that really stayed and connected with me. And you got to be real with yourself. Are these people like really that influential in my life? Are these people really going to be there when I take that move or I take that leap or I quit that job? And that was something that I really realized going into this year is I was running a insurance team, okay? And this insurance team had about 15 guys on it, okay? 15 guys and gals. You can't forget the gals. And we were making, I mean, on average, we were writing about $1 million per week or per month as far as business goes, which is pretty good as far as insurance goes. Writing AV wise, 100 a million every month, over 10 million a year for sure. And what we were ranking top five and everything. But the one thing that I realized is that a lot of these people that are above you, and when it comes to sales and then just in leadership and life in general, is they want to keep you just good enough to where it makes them look good, but not so good where you replace them as far as your position goes. So if let's just say you got all your agents, then you have your sales leader, and then you have your manager, right? That manager is going to make sure you're doing a good job as a sales leader, but just good enough to where your team doesn't get so big where you become a manager. And that's kind of a backwards way to look at it, because it's like, okay, it's not fruitful for all to have you be promoted as a manager? No, it's not. And this is kind of what I realized going into this year. I was at this time as an insurance team, I was like, hey, we're going to be a manager. I had people under me that I was getting hyped up. I'm like, hey, you guys are going to be sales leaders. You guys are going to be making 300K a year. This is going to be great. But when you rely on these people that are in your management to help with your business, right, and they see that you're taking a lot of the right steps as far as the business goes, the big thing that they want to make sure that you do is not undermine them as far as their capability of being a manager, because what's their point of their job? It's honestly to keep you at a very high efficiency level. And this is what one of the weird things that I kind of realized was, because I was getting, like, we were having recruits and put through as far as businesses go. We had recruits coming in, and I noticed that our team, which was writing a good 80% of the manager's business, was getting the fucking shitty people, the people that were from the ghetto, the people that didn't know how to fucking use a computer, they're 50 years old, just people unable to use insurance stuff. And this is something that you got to realize, is that if you feel like you're getting the bad end of the stick and you feel like you're doing the good stuff, now if you're a shitty person, I'm sorry, you got to just change your habits. But if you feel like you're doing the good things and you're going about it, business in the right way, and you still feel like you're getting the short end of the stick, and it's not just a one end occurrence. This was multiple months of this where I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? Is there something that I'm doing wrong? Like, why is it that these people aren't like, you're going to be the next manager kind of thing? And the one thing that I realized is that they didn't want that situation to happen, because that takes out of their profits. You see what I mean? You got to look at your business and you got to look at life. Like, people will try to control what your trajectory is based on how you can kind of benefit them. And the same thing goes with, like, your parents, for example. And not every, parents love you and everything, but the same reason why parents don't want you to, like, move to another state, or move to a different, country, or move out of the house sometimes, is because they lose that type of control over your business. They can lose that type of control over where you're going to be at in 5 6 years from now, right? What if you fall back flat on your face? That's what your parents think, and they do it out of love. Now with these guys, it was more of, oh, I'm going to lose my money, I don't want to get this guy promoted. And so after working and after running a team that was honestly fucking blowing up as far as top performers, top everything, and then keep getting the short end of the stick, but still performing at a high level because I knew how to get this business done. I was like, fuck this. I'm not dealing with this type of business anymore as far as the business goes. So you got to protect what's called your sanity. You can't go insane. And that's what I felt like I was going. I'm like, hey, I'm doing all these things, but then it was like another thing. It was like always getting the short end of the stick. So always keep in mind where people's intentions are. If you haven't read the book, The 48 Laws of Power, there is a lot of context that comes from that book. And people try to manipulate you on a lot of times. And so when you're working on your end of the stuff, if you're a good person and you're keep getting the short end of the stick, it's because when it comes to the short end of the stick, it's because people resent you. They really do. And this is just basic human psychology. And it's nothing against them. They're just trying to do what they can to protect themselves. You don't matter to their equation a whole lot of the time. Yes, you can make money for them and everything, but you got to do what's best for yourself at the end of the day. So for me in 2025, a huge leap of faith was a company that I've been working for 4 years. I finally realized, hey, I'm not going to keep dealing with this crappy recruits, and then I'm having to train crappy recruits, and then they end up not performing, and then I'm back to the drawing board with a new agent, 30 days later. No, I'm not going to keep doing this for the rest of my life. And so I made a leap of faith, and I stepped out of leadership. And I stepped out of leadership. I stepped out of being sales manager, and I said, hey, I want to be a top performing agent. Also, too, when it comes to this stuff, is look at the fine print of your business. The fine print is definitely there. Okay. And what I mean by that is there's always, if stuff seems too good to be true, usually it is. I was work a good majority of the business that I was writing was directly through a company, and their kind of commission structure was that you would get paid about 25% of that business your first year, and then any time anybody that stayed on for the plan for more than a year's worth of time, it would drop down to about 2% of your business. So you got to think, okay, not even, it was like 1.5% or something fucking bogus. You got to think of, when you make your money, do you want to constantly be in this rat race of a business? I mean, what's the difference between a car dealer and an insurance broker? Well, the insurance broker has a book of business at the end of the day that can still make a money no matter what kind of position they are. I make well over multiple six figures just sitting on my ass, even if I don't touch another. I don't touch another policy if I don't close another policy. So you got to look at that like, okay, I need to get into something residual value of growth, right? Compound interest over time. And so what I was able to find was that this company wasn't doing things correctly. And so I realized is, okay, well, instead of me making these fat commissions my first year, let me make 15% on these commissions forever. So I can keep making money and I can keep having this stuff stack. And the one thing that I saw was that was very influential is that if you can make this kind of money, it's only a matter of time before this book of business makes a half a million a year or makes $1 million a year. And you got to look at yourself and you got to be like, what's more important? The $5,000 I could make this week or the 20, 30, 50, 70, 80 grand that I could wake up to every day going in, for the lifeline. So for 2025, what I realized is that you need to look at where are people holding you hostage for the most part, and where can you grow as a person, and what are you capable of. I know in sales, and this difference from industry, in insurance sales, the best money you can ever make is yourself. It really is. I mean, you can't look at yourself and say, okay, I can't keep running it. I can't run a team if I only make 5% off the team. I need to make the most money I can make is based off myself. I mean, look at it, right? If I made, let's just say 5% off of what the agents made, which is 15%, that's fucking nothing. That's nothing. I mean, that's fucking nothing. That's like that's like 0.6%. Okay. Or 0.75. But the reason why I say that is get good at running this business by yourself. And what I was able to do was when I was a leader, I was closing about, I would say about 8 deals a week. Okay. Probably even less. I was probably closing about 6 deals a week, one every day. Now, when I went back to an agent, what I noticed is, and this is super influential, so pay attention, is I wrote this company over a course of a year. I wrote it over about 12, $13 million worth of business. And I actually wrote another about $4 million within the first couple months of 2025. So I wrote this company $15 million worth of business under my leadership. Guess how many calls I got? Guess how many texts I got for checking in? Right? How many check-ins did I get? Like, hey, how you doing? Right? How can I help out? Is there anything I can help out with as far as leaders go? I got 3 texts. 3 texts in a matter of 4 months. You know why? Because I'm not a resource to them anymore. I'm just an agent back to what everyone else was. 3 texts, and you make somebody over 300 grand, or let's just say 200 grand, and then that's what you get. Situationships, and I go back to this, is the biggest thing that you'll realize most people are fucking on, right? Most people are friends with you because of the situation you're in. And if you're not in the situation you're in, it's like the guy that has all the money, that has all these friends, but when he loses the money, oh, well, all of his friends go silent. It's the same shit. Okay. And it's nothing against you being a bad person or anything. It's just how people are, right? So don't get so caught up in how this stuff really works at the end of the day. Just know that you are the best person to do the job a lot of the time. And the one thing that I would say is, and this goes into my next point, is that you gotta have the correct vices for your life. The vices of your life, right? Like I saw a lot of sales agents. They would go to drinking every weekend. They would be going to, like, on Friday night, they'd be drinking and they'd be so drunk that, they'd be so hungover the next day that they couldn't even go to work on a Saturday. And that's when people would be home and you could close deals easy. What's your vice? Is it a gambling addiction? Is it a proving that you're the fucking shit with a nice car and everything? Figure out your vice. And I'm gonna be honest, a big vice of mine was on the weekends I would get pretty fucked up, and I would go to these drugs. I would do the shrooms, I would do the weed, I would do the alcohol, I'd do it all. And there was a point one time where I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm doing all this stuff, but why? And that's when you got connected with God. I had a common moment with God where I'm like, hey, God, can you please forgive me for my sins, for what I've done here? And this is a very influential part of my life because this was in August. And at this time, I realized that this whole insurance team and everything, I was just basically a number, just waiting to they were just kind of waiting for me to get booted out of the door, pretty much. And a lot of this just kind of was like, wow, what the fuck? And I've resorted to drugs. And one thing that I recommend is that, you got to have a good foundation of what your life can be like. And you got to have the vision. God's vision of yourself is his path. And you got to have God's path on your way to any kind of success, any kind of major wealth. I just say this from an example, and I'm going to just be real. I hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom. I didn't go broke because I knew I couldn't go broke. But I'm like, man, what the fuck's going on with my life? You know? And this is how you can continue to nurture yourself in the right direction, is by opening up the Bible, reading what Jesus and reading what, a guy like Job, for example, were able to go through and still have God on their side. So I challenge you, is this year in 2026, you need to look at yourself as the vision. Is this vision going to be on God's path, or is it going to be on my path? Because 9 out of 10 times, it's not going to go your way if it's your own path. Work on what's going to be giving you the most success in life under God's thing, because we all get buried 6 feet under. Who gives a shit? I love making money, but at the end of the day, if I died tomorrow, I'd get none of that with me. I take none of that with me. I say this out of importance because you need to have a very good idea of what this looks like for yourself. Look at the stuff that I was already talking about. I ran an insurance team that was very successful. I thought I was doing it my way and getting fucked up on the weekends. I felt like I was getting the short end of the stick. All these people were resenting me for me trying to just do the best job of my possibility. And as soon as I left the leadership, no one gave a fuck about me to ever check in on me, ever. And if it was to pay a bill. So you got to look at yourself, okay, well, what's this next path going into 2026? Well, in 2025, I went from closing 6 deals a week, right? Going back to this, I was closing 6 deals a week. As an agent, as a top performer agent, I started writing deals, and I got really good at automation. I needed to automate my business. How was I going to scale the business if I can't automate it to the maximum? So I automated about 80%, 85% of my business. I hired a virtual assistant. You need to hire a virtual assistant if you're making over I would say if you're making over 200 grand a year, you need to hire a virtual assistant. Automated 85%. Virtual assistant took the other 10%, and then about 5% was my responsibility. And why was this important? Is because what I was able to do is I went from 6 deals a week to now I'm closing about 16 to 20 deals a week. And I'm writing about 75 deals a month. Now, let's just say I make $100 per deal on that, right? Simple numbers. Well, what's 75 times by 100? That means that I add $7,500 worth of passive income to my business, to my life, every single month. So if you did this for 6 months, let's just do 10 months, make it easy. It'd be $75,000 per month that you'd be making. That's pretty crazy numbers, right? And this is what I've been doing for the past 4 months of the last, since August. After I had that breaking point and I've got connected back with God, I just said, hey, you know what? We need to get really good at being an agent again. We need to be really good at closing these deals because at the end of the day, this is how we're going to make the most money. Now, with this in mind for 2026, 2025, is that you need to be very comfortable with working by yourself. I had a girlfriend that was kind of into the drugs with me. We had to drop her, got connected with a faith driven woman, and connect with her. But I did go through that lonely phase of let me just work on myself for a little bit and see what happens. And God, of course, blesses you with somebody when he knows you're ready, right? So why do I look at this stuff? And why is this some life lessons? Well, going into 2026, this is what we're going to see. Okay, going into 2026. Okay. Is this. We're going to go and we're going to continue to write 75 deals a month. We're going to make that same passive income. Now, this would be for health insurance. Okay. We're going to add in what's going to be considered life insurance, where you can start making more money on the front end for life insurance. Okay. And this one here, life insurance pays you, I don't know if you guys know, but it pays you about 90 to 100%. It just depends on how good of a closer you are, right? Usually most people are around, I would say about 80. But if you make 100% commission, and let's just say you sell somebody on $100 per month of life insurance, this is what my mindset's at. Okay, you make 90 to 100% off a deal. Let's just say 100, make it easy for ourselves, right? As for life insurance, if I'm closing 16 to 20 deals a week, and let's just say on 25% of the deals, I sell life insurance. And how do you do that, Michael? Well, you got to think, right? If somebody was paying $2,000 a month on health insurance, and I got them on a new plan, that's $1,500 a month. I can add in $100 worth of life insurance. See what I mean? Now, if I look at these numbers here, if I did $100, let's just say $100 of life insurance times by the 12 months that they would be on the policy, well, that day or that week, I would make $1,200. Now, if I close 16 deals, let's just say 16 deals I close a week, and that's 75 deals a month times by 25%, that's equal to what? Right about 25 deals a month of life, and you times that by 1,200. I mean, look at the fucking numbers, guys. This is 20. What is this? What, 25? No, it's not even. It's like 2,750 per month. So not only am I making I'm making an extra $7,500 a month passively getting added onto my residual, I'm making $27,500 a month on insurance. Now, one thing that I thought about for 2026 here too was that, okay, I could start selling group policies. And with group policies, it's a little bit different. You get paid on average, let's just say about $75 per client. Okay. Well, if I sell a group plan to a company, and let's just say they have 100 employees, well, that one deal was equal to the 75 deals that I just would have did in a month. I could sell one group policy of 100 employees, right? So if we do mass texting, right, which we're doing, what we've kind of seen is with these group policies is that we could probably crank one of these out once a month. So I could make an extra $7,500 a month plus for groups. Is that what I was looking at here? Is that we could do 7,500 a month. We could add 7,500 a month for health, just regular health plans. I could sell an extra about $7,500 a month of. I mean, we can even lowball this down. Let's just say 6,000 for group insurance. And then we can also add in the $2,750 for life insurance. How much money is that? That's a fuck ton of money. Okay? I mean, that's what, 41 grand per month. And then by the end of the year, it's going to be well over, it should be over about 100K per month for 2026. I would say by August, it should be about there. Why is this important? Well, the thing is that with life, you're not guaranteed everything. And the one thing that keeps me going and everything, I don't know why more people aren't scared about this. It's AI. You don't know how long your job's going to be there for. I mean, like if you're a business owner, I mean, I work in sales, like you got to think like in 10 years from now, AI might be able to take your job. Like what kind of money are you going to have when they take your job? Is it going to be impossible to become a millionaire? Right? These are real questions you got to have for yourself. And this is some real ass advice is that if you don't grind today, somebody else is going to take your money. And if it's not you, it's going to be the government. Or if it's not another person, it's going to be the government. And if it's not the government, it's going to be AI. AI is going to take your money and feel fucking great about it. Okay? So these are some very, this is what 2026 is about. Is going to be, I've been steady making a couple $100,000 a year, okay, doing insurance. And, I don't want to keep doing insurance forever. No one does. This stuff's kind of just mundane. But the one thing that I would say is that for anybody that's new to insurance or anything, is look at the fucking money that you're looking at here. Look at the money. I mean, right now we make pretty good fucking money. But here in 6 months, we're gonna make about 55 grand from just this year, and in about 12 months, we should be making about 100 grand just on health alone. That's crazy. If you guys want some matrix on this, let me show you what it takes. Every about 5,000 business owners we text, and this is some nuggets if you guys want to do this. Every about 5K of business owners I text. I text leads out, I mass text them, I get one deal. So if I close 15 to 16 deals in a week, on average, that's about 15,000 leads I text a day. This cost me about $400, actually about $450 per day. Okay? The ROI is there. The money I make off of a client versus how much it costs me to make that deal happen, it's about a 20 to 1 return. 20 to 1 return. If it was life insurance added on, forget it. It's like a 35 to 1 return. I text a fuck ton of people every day, and I have my virtual assistant do all the texting for me. I've taught her how to do it, and It took a while. She does all the texting. She books our calendar for us. I have no complaints at all. And every day, Monday through Saturday, or at least Monday through Friday, it's pretty much booked every day. Is just booked calls, and you just got to keep doing this. You got to keep working on this. It doesn't start this way. Most people, unless you got fucking 10 G's sitting around, I would say get good at this stuff. I mean, what's nice is with this life insurance stuff going into next year, we're going to be able to have teams sell life insurance, or I can start actually running a team and they could start making some real money, because the 25% that these leads were taken, it wasn't enough money for them to make substantial income off the business. I mean, they would make a few thousand, they would make $2,000 3,000 a year, a week, for working 70 hours, 80 hours a week every week. It's not sustainable. This is sustainable. I can get behind this. And this is what 2026 is about. Let's just start making a fuck ton of money, and let's put the gossip, put the opinions aside of, oh, okay, I'm satisfied. No, go hard for 2026. Get all your automation down. You need to automate everything in your business, and this is how you're going to prosper yourself. Guys, really realize that a lot of people in life don't give a fuck about you. So do what you got to do anyways. If you got to act weird, if you got to do all this weird shit, like, I mean, I do insurance. It's nothing too complicated, but I mean, when we're sitting here at the end of 2026 and I'm driving a Rolls Royce and you're driving your fucking Honda Civic, what's the difference going to be, right? I'm the top closer of this little office that I'm working in right now, and I close more than 10 people combined a week because the office is garbage. You know how much they resent me because I just shove it right in their face of how much I close deals. People resent success, and people will do whatever they can to give you the short end of the stick if they feel threatened. So you can be one of these fake ass people that, oh, I'm just going to flatter myself to the top. That's called sucking your dick to get to the top. Or you can just be a fucking dominator and dominate the workspace when it comes to you, when it comes to other people, of how they respect you, and become where you can be making 100 grand a month actually, and you're not stuck in this little hamster wheel of this 1.5% bullshit that I was on. I'm being honest with you. This is how you're going to do it. And I'm just excited. I'm really pumped for 2026. This was my little recap here. So enjoy your guys' self. Just stay hustling. Like Rick Ross said, fuck, maintain, gotta keep balling. That is the motto. We're writing this shit up right here. Fuck, maintain, gotta keep balling. Okay? From Rick Ross. Fuck, maintain, gotta keep balling. All right? And if you guys can live by that, hey, sky's the fucking limit. So run it up.